Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a case that, it's captivated and frustrated true crime enthusiasts for decades.
It really has.
This is actually a top request from many of you, and honestly, it's a perfect fit for our murder mystery series, so get ready, because it's a gripping story. We're heading to the glamorous French Riviera.
The Côte d'Azur.
Exactly. To unravel the tragic and, frankly, utterly baffling murder of Ghislaine Marchal. And this isn't just, a straightforward crime. It's really a saga. Shocking discovery. A suspect who seemed obvious at first.
Right, the gardener?
Yes, and this cryptic message written in blood that, it sent him to prison. But here's where it gets really interesting. New evidence popped up later, casting this huge shadow over the original conviction.
Indeed. And this deep dive, it's really going to explore how a case that seemed clear-cut became one of France's most, hotly debated legal sagas. We'll look at the crime scene, the investigation, which was controversial, to say the least, the man accused, and then these DNA revelations that even now keep challenging the official story. Our mission today is to unpack all this information you've provided, help you understand why, after all this time, the case is still so unsettling.
So what does this all mean for, the question of justice? Let's try and untangle this. Okay, so our story kicks off on the sunny Côte d'Azur in Mougins. There's this luxurious villa, the Chamade. It belonged to Ghislaine Marchal, a wealthy widow, 65 years old. Now, on Sunday, June 23rd, 1991, she's on the phone with a friend about 11:50 a.m. They're planning lunch the next day.
Okay.
She was also meant to meet other friends at 1 p.m. that day, and that phone call, that was the last time anyone heard from her.
And as you'd expect, her friends got worried when she was a no-show for lunch. Calls weren't answered. So the next day, Monday the 24th, her friends and someone from a security company went into the villa.
What did they find?
Well, initially, it was puzzling. No signs of forced entry. The front door was unlocked, keys in the lock, alarm off. It almost looked like she just stepped out, breakfast tray in the kitchen, bed unmade.
But she hadn't just stepped out. After they searched the main house, the police were called that evening, and their focus shifted to this locked annex, stairs leading down to a cellar.
Ah, the cellar.
Yeah, and the metal door to this cellar was blocked from the inside, with a folding bed and a metal pipe. It took the gendarmes, the police, quite a bit of effort to force it open.
And what they found inside was horrific. At the bottom of this boiler room, Ghislaine Marchal, lying face down, she was wearing a bloodstained bathrobe pulled up around her waist.
God.
The autopsy, which wasn't done for a few days, showed just extreme violence. 5 heavy blows to the head with a wooden chevron like a piece of timber.
Right.
A V-shaped wound on her throat. 10 stab wounds to her chest and abdomen. 1 actually caused evisceration. 3 pierced her liver and her hands. Numerous injuries, fractures, 1 finger bone almost torn off. Clear signs she fought back, tried to protect her face.
Wow.
And they could tell her body had been dragged because of cement and dust traces.
And the coroner said no single blow killed her instantly, that she suffered.
For 15 to 30 minutes, yes, a harrowing detail. And crucially, the violence meant blood must have spurted onto the killer. Has to have.
Which seems like a key point.
Absolutely. But amidst all this horror, they found 2 messages written in blood.
The infamous messages.
Yes. On a closed wine cellar door, about a meter off the ground, it said, Omar m'a tué. Clear as day, in blood. And then further in, another inscription, barely legible, Omar m'a tué. Both confirmed later to be written in her blood.
But the first one, Omar m'a tué.
Yeah, that has a mistake in it, right?
A huge one, grammatically speaking. Tuer is the infinitive verb to kill. It should have been the past participle, tuer, agreeing with the female victim, Ghislaine.
So Omar killed me.
Exactly. Instead, it's like Omar to kill me. It became the most famous spelling mistake in French criminal history. So with those messages, naturally, suspicion falls on Omar Raddad, Ghislaine Marchal's gardener. He was Moroccan.
Yes. Arrested the very next day after the body was found. He'd only been in France since '85, was illiterate, and apparently spoke very little French.
Right.
Now, during his detention, Captain Senchi, one of the investigators, noted Raddad was calm, psychologically solid.
Okay.
But Raddad himself claims he was never told about his right to a lawyer or an interpreter. He said the gendarmes just wrote down whatever they wanted in the report. He was charged with murder, imprisoned on June 27th.
And the case against him? Was it strong? Physically?
Well, that's the thing. It was largely circumstantial. The prosecution pushed this idea that Raddad needed money He apparently asked Marchal for advances quite often.
Okay. A possible motive, maybe?
And it came out later he was a regular at casinos in Cannes, had maybe
Huh.
2,000 pounds in debts. But motive isn't proof.
No. So what about actual physical evidence connecting him to that horrific scene?
That's the critical point. There was a stark absence of it. No fingerprints of his found anywhere. No trace of him on the victim or in the cellar itself.
And he'd been mowing the lawn that morning.
Exactly. Yet not a single blade of grass found in the basement. And remember the blood spatter.
Yeah, the killer would be covered.
Right. But when police checked Raddad's clothes, no blood. Zero. It's a massive disconnect from the scene itself.
Okay, so no physical link.
Right.
Did he have an alibi for the time of the murder? They placed it around noon on the 23rd, right?
He did provide one, yes. Claimed he was home for lunch. Said he bought bread from a bakery around 12:05 p.m. Later met a supermarket manager in his building's courtyard. And he made a phone call to his wife down in Toulon at 12:51 p.m.
That sounds fairly specific. Why was it dismissed?
Well, the investigation had issues with it. They initially checked the wrong bakery.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Later, the owner of the correct bakery confirmed Raddad was a regular customer, but couldn't pinpoint that exact time. The supermarket manager, Jean-Pierre G., was the only one who really backed up seeing him then. Others nearby didn't recall seeing him. Plus, witnesses on the road didn't see him past the villa. The guardian's daughter said her dogs always barked at Raddad, and they didn't mark around that time. Even the 12:51 p.m. phone call was somehow seen as conflicting with their timeline. It feels like they were looking for reasons to disregard it.
This whole thing, as you start laying it out, it just screams botched investigation.
It really does. Omar Raddad himself apparently said he was amazed by the ineptitude. He questioned why DNA tests took so long, why prints weren't taken properly at the start, why the death date was initially wrong.
Let's talk about some of those specific failures. They seem pretty major.
Hugely major. One of the biggest criticisms is the cremation of Ghislaine Marchal's body. It happened on July 1st, 1991, just days after she was found,
Okay.
and before the final coroner's report was even officially received.
Wait, really? Before the report?
Yes. That decision immediately prevented any chance for a second opinion, a counter-expertise on the body. It's highly questionable procedure.
Wow. And evidence handling.
Also deeply flawed. Blood samples apparently deteriorated. The victim's handbag, which was supposed to be checked for fingerprints, arrived at the lab 5 months late.
5 months.
And the seal was open.
Unbelievable. Okay, and the time of death controversy. You mentioned the date was changed.
Yes. The initial autopsy report said she died on June 24th. That's the day Raddad had a clearer alibi.
Right.
But then the doctors changed it to June 23rd. Their explanation. It was a typo.
Typo. On the day of death.
Exactly. It caused a huge controversy. While maybe some other data pointed towards the 23rd, the medical reason given for the change felt incredibly flimsy, almost convenient for the prosecution.
So it looked like they were maybe fitting the timeline to the suspect.
That was certainly the perception. And when the trial started in January 94, the prosecution leaned heavily on that timeline. The bloody messages, Raddad's supposed money issues, and the fact there was no forced entry, suggesting, an inside job by someone familiar with the place, like him.
And that grammatical error, Omar Raddad, that became a huge focus, right? How did the prosecution handle that?
They tried an interesting tactic. They argued Ghislaine Marchal, even though she was educated and liked crosswords, actually made that specific grammatical error frequently in her own writing.
Seriously?
Yes. And they initially claimed 2/3 of the graphology experts' handwriting analysts were sure the writing was hers.
But that didn't hold up.
No. Other experts strongly disagreed. There's a big split. Eventually, the consensus became that it was impossible to definitively say it was her handwriting.
So that crucial piece, her naming her killer, became very uncertain.
Very uncertain. And add to that the questions about her physical state. Her injuries were so severe, there was no blood trail between where her body was found and where the messages were written. Could she even have moved that far?
Good point.
One coroner explicitly stated she likely couldn't have gotten up after the assault because of internal bleeding. So it really begs the question, if she couldn't move, who wrote Omar Raddad?
The verdict came down February 2nd, 1994. Omar Raddad found guilty, sentenced to 18 years.
Yes, and the reaction was immediate and strong. Widespread criticism in France and also in Morocco. Many felt the court convicted him harshly without enough solid evidence, and crucially, without the possibility of appealing the conviction itself back then.
His lawyer, Jacques Verger, made that famous comparison.
To the Dreyfus affair, yes.
Yeah.
Saying 100 years ago an officer wronged to be Jewish was convicted. Today, a gardener is convicted because he's wronged to be Maghreb, pointing directly at perceived bias.
And there were comments from the judge.
There were. The presiding judge made some really inappropriate remarks directly to Raddad, like, anyone who cannot read or write should hide themselves away in a hole. And another aggressive comment about sheep slaughter. It just fueled the accusations of racial and anti-immigrant prejudice playing a role.
But Raddad didn't just accept this. He kept fighting.
Never stopped. He eventually got a partial pardon from President Jacques Chirac in 1996. It was requested by the King of Morocco, Hassan II.
Okay.
That reduced his sentence, and he was released in September 1998. He'd served about 4 years. But crucially, a pardon isn't an exoneration.
Right. It doesn't mean innocent, just means the sentence is altered or ended.
Exactly. He wasn't cleared. So he continued pushing for full exoneration, and then came the DNA bombshell.
The science catches up.
Big time. In 2001, new tests were done on some of those blood samples from the scene, specifically from the doors where the messages were and the wooden chevron used in the attack. They found Ghislaine Marchal's blood was mixed with male blood. But here's the kicker. This male blood was absolutely not Omar Raddad's.
Wow. Okay. That changes everything. 10 years later.
Completely throws the original conviction into doubt, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't stop there. Further investigations in 2015, using much more advanced DNA tech, they found traces from 4 unknown males at the scene.
4 different men.
4 distinct male DNA profiles, yes. And then, get this, by June 2021, they announced that about 30 separate traces of the same unknown male DNA, one of those 4, were found mixed in the bloodstains.
30 traces of one unknown man.
Yes, which completely rules out the idea it was just random contamination from, say, investigators or paramedics. This DNA was deeply embedded in the crime scene blood.
So let's be clear. Raddad's DNA, never found. Unknown male DNA, particularly from one man, found repeatedly in the victim's blood.
Precisely. It raises the unavoidable question, whose DNA is this? Were there multiple attackers? Or one main attacker leaving traces everywhere? Was it planned? Was it a fight gone wrong?
It's the central mystery now.
Absolutely. And this new evidence prompted Raddad to request a retrial. Retrials are incredibly rare in France. I think only about 10 defendants have ever been acquitted through one since 1945.
So did he get it?
Well, the appeals court did grant the request to reopen the case investigation in December 2021. That was a big step.
Okay.
But then, in October 2022, the investigative commission decided against recommending a full review of the trial itself. So despite this compelling DNA, the path to a full retrial was blocked. For now, he's still fighting.
And it seems like there are still so many other odd details, unanswered questions from the start.
Oh, definitely. Just when you think it can't get stranger.
Uh-huh.
Like the cellar door being blocked from the inside. If the killer did that, how did they get out?
Right. Did they just vanish?
Unless there was another way. A Mason's report mentioned 2 windows in the wine cellar part had been reopened back in 1990, the year before. Could the killer have used those? Making the blocked door a deliberate staging.
A staged scene that fits with the potentially staged message. And what about Ghislaine Marchal herself? Her personal life seems murky.
Very. Friends apparently knew very little. There were mentions of a past Greek boyfriend, a more recent Italian who has a boat. She kept this large notebook she wrote in, constantly never found.
Never found. That seems significant.
Could be. And maybe the most intriguing loose end. The maid said Marshall got a phone call the day before the murder. After the call, Marshall told the maid she could take leave, go home.
And that call?
Never traced. Who called her? What was said? It's another potential lead that just vanished.
So, looking back, this intense focus on Omar Raddad, driven by that bloody message, did it blind the investigation?
It certainly looks like classic television. Other leads were barely explored or quickly dismissed. Like, a woman from New Zealand reported seeing a van nearby with bloodstains and wooden chevrons inside.
Seriously, chevrons.
Yes. And there was apparently a rumor Marchal knew another man named Omar. Both leads basically went nowhere. It really highlights the danger of locking onto one suspect too early, especially when the evidence isn't solid.
So the murder of Ghislaine Marchal, it's a story that just refuses to end neatly, doesn't it? It's this ongoing fight for truth, years after the justice system seemed to close the case. Omar Raddad, convicted, pardoned, but still fighting for full exoneration.
Yeah, and what's really striking is how science, particularly DNA, has forced us to look back and question everything we thought we knew decades ago. The presence of that unknown male DNA, definitely not Raddad's, right there in the victim's blood.
Yeah.
It's just such a powerful piece of the puzzle that wasn't available back then.
It really leaves you with a chilling thought, though. If Omar Raddad the gardener didn't do it, and his name was written there in blood, who did?
Exactly.
And maybe the most unsettling question of all was that misspelling, to her, not some mistake by a dying woman, but a deliberate, maybe even mocking clue left by a killer who was far more cunning than anyone realized.
It's a deeply disturbing possibility.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into what is truly an unforgettable and deeply unresolved mystery. We hope this exploration has given you plenty to think about. Until next time, stay curious. That's it from us today. This is Lisa and Jim signing off from Pod Talk. Hope you all have an informative session. Please like and subscribe for more such sessions. We hope to see you soon with a brand new topic of discussion.